Welcome once again to Leto's Law. Here's Steve Leto.
Every now and then we hear about somebody who's wrongly convicted and they get out of prison and then they sue to get compensated for the time they spent behind bars. And it doesn't always end that way, but we've got one here. Jeffrey sent me, said, Steve, check this one out. From the Associated Press, jury awards $34 million to woman after finding out that the Vegas police fabricated evidence to put her behind bars. Federal jury in Nevada has awarded more than $34 million to a woman who was arrested at the age of 18, wrongly convicted twice, and served nearly 16 years in state prison for a 2001 killing that she did not commit. And a court not only has dismissed her convictions, but the court has also said she is innocent, which is a step beyond simply dismissing the charges and so on. The woman is now 41. She cried and hugged her attorneys after a judge read the trial verdict Thursday. And this is in the civil suit to get compensation. And this was in U.S. District Court. She said, it's been an uphill battle with many, many obstacles, and I'm happy that it's all finally finished. She said she didn't know if becoming a millionaire would make up for years in prison, adding that she had no idea what the rest of her life's going to look like. And that's the other thing. A lot of times I hear people, when they hear about big lawsuits and so on, they go, oh, that kind of a windfall. Boy, I'd love to get that. I'm telling you right now, if you said, Steve, we're going to lock you up in prison, and at the end of that year, we're going to give you $1 million. I wouldn't take it. No, I don't want to spend a year in prison. But keep in mind that people who are wrongly imprisoned don't know they're getting out at the other end. So spend that time in prison thinking you're going to rot there for the rest of your life, and then get out and find out what it's worth. So the trial jury found that Las Vegas police and 2 detectives, who have now retired, fabricated evidence during their investigation and intentionally inflicted emotional distress upon her. So one of the counts that she brought was intentional infliction of emotional distress. And it's acts done by somebody that are so outrageous that it would shock the conscience of the average person, but would cause someone who is the subject of them to get distressed. The panel determined that she should receive $34 million in compensatory damages from the department and $10,000 in punitive damages from each former detective. Now, the detectives and their attorney declined to comment outside the courtroom and said they are, of course, planning to appeal. The department previously agreed to pay damages if the jury ruled in her favor. So they said, look, we're going to pay them. But it's the detectives who apparently think they're going to appeal. So we'll see what happens. Now, here's what the story sounds like. When she was 18, she was interviewed by police without an attorney, arrested and charged with killing a man in Las Vegas in July of 2001. The man who'd been killed had been homeless and was found dead outside, and they have some details here about the death, but I'm not going to go into those. But it was ugly. No physical evidence or witnesses connected the woman to the killing. She maintained she'd never even met the person. Police, however, say that she confessed in jail that she had killed a man who tried to attack her during a binge while on meth. And we've talked before about jailhouse snitches and jailhouse confessions. They are the least reliable thing on earth. They'll often put somebody in the cell with you and tell that person, if you can get them to confess to the crime and you testify about it, she gets convicted, we'll cut some time off your sentence. And next thing you know, they come back, yep, she confessed. And we've had cases before, I know of several, where the detectives fed the person certain information and said, by the way, see if she mentions being on this street, or the fact that the man was wearing a blue shirt, or that he was found in an alley. And the guy or gal comes out and says, yeah, she says that she met this guy on the street, took him back in the alley, he's wearing a blue shirt, she remembers it well, and then she killed him. Well, that confession's good because the confession included facts that only the killer would know. And we've documented cases before where there's information that a lot of people knew. Information is reported in the news No, only the killer would know that, unless somebody reads the newspapers. So she was 19 when she was convicted of the murder back in '02. So ask yourself where you were in 2002. And this woman's been in prison pretty much since then. The Nevada Supreme Court threw out her verdict, and so her lawyers at the original trial weren't able, for some odd reason, to cross-examine the jailhouse snitch. And it doesn't explain here why that happened, but obviously that's a problem. If you can't cross-examine the most important witness against you. So the Supreme Court of Nevada granted her a new trial back then, and so in 2006, she was tried again, and again she was convicted. And presumably now, if they're going to use that jailhouse snitch information against her, her attorney would get to cross-examine. But, of course, that's a problem. So she was exonerated and freed from prison in late 2017 after the Innocence Project and attorneys in Las Vegas took over her case and brought it to the state Supreme Court. Justices said evidence showed that the woman was in her hometown 150 miles away from Las Vegas when the victim was killed. So she was 150 miles away when the man was killed. So last October, a state court judge in Las Vegas issued a certificate declaring that she was innocent of the killing. Not just that she was not guilty of it, but that she was innocent of it. That's extremely rare. It's extremely rare for a court to make that ruling, but a court made that ruling. Now, the interesting thing here is it does not say exactly what the fabricated evidence was. I'm wondering if it was the jailhouse snitch, because although that's not fabricated in the traditional sense, it is unreliable. And if, for instance, if they fed information to the snitch and the snitch came back out and said, yeah, here's what she told me, including all that information had been fed to the snitch, that would be fabricated evidence in a roundabout way. So that declaration of innocence was challenged by the Clark County Sheriff and the Clark County District Attorney in a letter asking the state attorney general to investigate how and why attorneys acquired the certificate of innocence. Why? Do we really need to explain to you why she wanted that? Or are you wondering what the basis of it is? Because it sounds like they presented it to a judge that here's the case that was against my client, here's her alibi, and here's how strong her alibi is. And so some people, rightly so, are going to ask, wait, Steve, she's convicted twice. She's convicted twice. And now you're telling me that a court has declared her innocent. Something's out of kilter here. Well, one thing you have to know, and I've mentioned before that when you have a jury, juries are made up of people, in essence, drawn at random off the street, so to speak. And think about what average people are like, okay? Average people. Just walk over and grab 12 average people out of a crowd someplace. And ask yourself what things would be true and not true about a group of average people. And I can tell you, and people in the legal system will tell you this as well, that jurors love certain things and don't like certain other things. So, for instance, jurors love videos. If you've got a video of something that happened and you tell the jury, people are going to testify about what happened on Thursday the 13th. We've got video of what happened on Thursday. Oh. And trust me, the video does go a long way towards showing people what happened. But the point simply is that if I've got grainy video versus 15 eyewitnesses, there are people out there who say, don't even put the 15 eyewitnesses on the stand. Show me the grainy video. And another thing that jurors put a lot of stock into is when they hear someone's confessed. Oh, somebody confessed. Why would they confess if they didn't do it? How about maybe they didn't confess? Because you know that jailhouse confession, it wasn't recorded. It wasn't on video. There were no other witnesses to it except for the snitch who says they heard this person say these things. And by the way, the snitch was put in the cell specifically to try to get a confession out of somebody at the behest of the police. And so for whatever reason, jurors tend to believe those things, and they really like them. They really think that's reliable, and they shouldn't. And I think now maybe people are getting a little bit wiser about this stuff, but think about this as a thought exercise. You're arrested for a crime, and they read you your Miranda rights. They say, "Would you like to speak to us?" And you go, "No." They go, "Well," and you go, "I want to talk to an attorney. Not a lawyer, dog. I want a lawyer who is a human being, licensed in the state. And guess what? I actually have one. Call my lawyer. And I'm going to shut up now." And so you go quiet. You're not speaking. So they bring you to the jail, and they put you in the jail cell. And you're waiting to talk to your lawyer. And somebody else gets tossed in the cell with you. Chatty Cathy. Chatty Cathy sits down and she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" You're a woman, by the way. "Hey, how's it going? What are you doing? What are you in here for?" Oh, well, you know what I'm in here for is this, that, and the other thing. And so what are you in here for? What are you in here for? What are you in here for? And after a couple hours, you have not said a single word. That person gets up and goes outside and tells the police, "Yep, she just confessed. She said this, 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 and this." And you were quiet the entire time. And you invoked your right to remain silent, and you demanded to speak to an attorney, and you hadn't spoken to an attorney yet. And somewhere down the road, they tell your attorney, "Oh, by the way, she confessed. She confessed to her cellmate, who we put in there." And that kind of stuff does happen. It does. It absolutely does happen. And like I said, as a thought exercise, they're supposed to discontinue questioning you the moment you say you want to invoke your right to remain silent. When they put Chatty Cathy in a cell with you, or whatever the male equivalent is if you're a man, aren't you being, in essence, interrogated by somebody who is an agent of the police? So the sad part is that there are people still in prison who've been imprisoned based on nothing more than jailhouse snitch testimony. So here the woman gets $34 million. It looks like parts of that will be appealed, maybe, but the bulk of it's going to get paid. And again, as I need to point out, paid by taxpayers. Tax dollars are going to pay this. It's wasteful. And unfortunately, sometimes police officers apparently think it's more important to get convictions than it is to make sure they've got the right person. So Jeffrey, thanks for sending that from the Associated Press. Jury awards $34 million to woman after finding Vegas police fabricated the evidence that put her in jail for all those years. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Leto's Law. Whatever your secret was, you have to agree, mine was better.